Imagine a man with no army, no shield, no noble name, just chains on his wrists, standing against the mightiest empire of the ancient world, and winning. This is the legend of Spartacus, the gladiator who refused to die for Rome's amusement, and instead dared to shake the Republic to its very foundation. Our story begins in Thrace, north of Macedonia, in lands that today span Bulgaria, Greece, and Turkey. Even the name Spartacus may not have been his real one. Romans often renamed their slaves according to origin, just as a Greek might be labeled Graecus or a Syrian Syrianus. His name was a reminder of the homeland he'd been forced to leave. But Spartacus was not the barbarian stereotype Rome loved to invent. Ancient writer Plutarch describes him as sharp, educated, and closer to Hellenic culture than to the tribal world Romans imagined. Some sources even hint that he once served as an auxiliary in the Roman army. But something changed. Whether desertion, betrayal, or simple misfortune, he ended up captured, condemned, and sold like property. His destination? Capua, a gladiator school run by the harsh Lanista, Lentulus Batiatus, one of the cruelest institutions in the empire. These training grounds were meat factories, producing fighters for blood-soaked arenas. Among criminals, prisoners of war, and desperate men, Spartacus quickly stood out, not just for strength, but for charisma and strategic brilliance. While most gladiators lived day to day, dreaming only of survival, Spartacus watched, planned, and recruited. In the shadowed corridors of Capua, alliances formed, whispers turned to strategy, and a small group of fighters prepared for a revolution. The moment arrived in 73 BC. With no real weapons, about 70 gladiators launched a desperate escape, armed with kitchen knives, spit rods, and whatever tools they could steal. They overcame the guards, seized real weapons from storage, and vanished into the countryside. Soon they elected 3 leaders, Spartacus, Crixus, and Enomus. But Spartacus was clearly the mind and heart of the uprising. Local Roman forces underestimated the fugitives and paid dearly. Hardened by gladiator training and fueled by fury, the rebels crushed every small contingent sent against them. What began as a prison break evolved into open rebellion. Escaped slaves from farms and villas flocked to join them. Peasants, shepherds, deserters, outlaws, anyone with a reason to fight. Within weeks, the band of 70 became an army. Spartacus moved his people to Mount Vesuvius, using its heights as a natural fortress. Rome responded by sending Praetor Gaius Claudius Glaber with 3,000 troops. Glaber believed he could starve the rebels out by sealing the mountain. He had no idea who he was dealing with. Spartacus wove ropes from vines, lowered his men down a cliff the Romans did not guard, circled behind the soldiers, and obliterated their camp. It was one of the most shocking ambushes in Roman memory. With Glaber defeated, the rebels armed themselves with captured Roman equipment. Their victories multiplied, and with them, their numbers. Spartacus began shaping the chaos into a real army, organizing units, enforcing discipline, and banning gold and silver to prevent greed from